We're back for daily college basketball best bets here on Monday, February 23rd. We've got some big time matchups today with college hoops, with Louisville going on over to Chapel Hill to take on the North Carolina Tar Heels, and the big one in the Big 12 late night spot, Houston going to Allen Fieldhouse to Lawrence, Kansas to take on the Kansas Jayhawks. We've got two massive games with, some Southland games in between and one matchup in the SWAC. So we will go through our 5 best bets to kick off the week. Again, not a huge slate of games. I think there's 10 in all today with college basketball, but obviously that massive ESPN doubleheader in Chapel Hill, in Lawrence, two blue bloods playing on back-to-back games on ESPN today. Again, some massive ones on a small slate of college basketball. Now, folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Yesterday, a positive day. On Sunday, we will take it. Ryder finally pulls out a victory, so thanks, Niagara, you bums. Shout out to Sacred Heart covering easy on the road against Marist. I'm telling you, Marist is just the most fraudulent team ever. Tulane barely covers against Rice. The Owls tried their damn hardest at the end of the game, hitting, 3 or 4 consecutive threes to try to cover the 5 points. Tulane ends up winning by 6. They hit a free throw with about 2 seconds to go to cover the spread, so we will absolutely take that. Milwaukee should have covered against Oakland. They're covering 8.5 that entire game until the last 2 minutes, and then the Golden Grizzlies pull away, end up winning that one, I believe, by 11 in Michigan, so we're on the wrong side of that equation in the Horizon League. And then Wisconsin goes out and beats the Iowa Hawkeyes. Really good game over in Madison, but really those last 10 minutes of that game, Wisconsin pulls away from Bennett Sturts in Iowa. Don't get me wrong, too. Bennett Sturts, phenomenal player. I mean, the guy truly does it all defensively, shooting ability. Bennett Sturts is the complete package, but a huge victory for Nick Boyd and the Badgers. We had them -2. They obviously covered that fairly easily. So we'll take the 3-2 day, but obviously looking for even more success to kick off the week. Again, 2 huge games, and the mid-majors are in here as well. So let's get it going. First of 5 best bets for college basketball. But first, folks, again, hit that subscribe button down below for more. Later today on the channel, we're going to have our NBA best bets. Only 3 games today in the association, but we still have 5 best bets for those games today. And on Greedo Plays MMA yesterday, we posted our UFC Fight Night Mexico predictions. Will this card still be in Mexico on Saturday? I don't know, but Brandon Moreno versus Lonnie Kavanaugh in the main event from Mexico City. Make sure to go check out our full card predictions over on Greedo Plays MMA. Those are going to be linked in the description down below, and go subscribe to Greedo Plays MMA if you have not yet. Okay, on to the first of our 5 best bets today for college basketball, kicking things off with that ACC matchup, going to Chapel Hill, and okay, I'll bite. Give me North Carolina. I'm going to go straight money line on North Carolina. I could take the 2 points. We're going to go money line here. I think I'll even myself out with the other couple games we're going to look at in a little bit in the Southland. Give me +120 straight up for the North Carolina Tar Heels to beat Louisville. I completely understand Caleb Wilson's not playing. I don't really care. I'm going to go UNC. Guys, they have not lost in Chapel Hill all year long. And I understand this would probably be the game where it happens. I'm not sold on Louisville. I know, again, Louisville, you know what they do. They don't run any set plays for the most part. They just go out there and they'll play for 40 minutes essentially. Well, obviously every team plays for 40 minutes, but they're just going to go out and try to run the entire game. They're going to try to overwhelm you with their shooting, with their high tempo. They haven't played that great on the road this season. They lost in Dallas to Southern Methodist. They lost at Duke. They lost at Stanford. And sure, they have their fair share of road victories, but I mean, every somewhat decent team they play on the road, they do lose to. I mean, their only road wins in the ACC are Wake, Pittsburgh. I'll give you California. That was a really good win. Cal has bounced back in a pretty big way this season. But other than that, losing at Tennessee, losing at Arkansas, and yes, this is not the North Carolina Tar Heels team that, has gotten them into the rankings. We'll see again with the rankings update too, obviously, this morning. Well, I'm recording this video, obviously, on late Sunday night, so I don't know where the rankings are going to be at. But currently, right now, North Carolina is still ranked 16th, Louisville ranked 21. I don't know, again, how that's going to move with the new rankings coming out. Let's keep on bumping the Red Hawks, by the way. Anyways, North Carolina, 21-6 this season. They have not lost in Chapel Hill all year long. Their losses, neutral site game against Michigan State, where they lost by 16 over in Fort Myers, Florida. A loss in Dallas against the Ponies of Southern Methodist. 2 losses in the Bay Area, both at the Farm and at Haas, so losing to both Stanford and Cal. Road loss in Miami against the Hurricanes, and then recently losing at the Lenovo Center, I believe that's what it's called, over in Raleigh, North Carolina against NC State. At home, the Tar Heels still play well. And yes, no Caleb Wilson is absolutely massive. I think they can still beat Louisville without him. And that's why I'm taking a shot on +120. I'm going to take an absolute shot on it here. If Henry Visar wasn't playing, then I would be completely out. But Visar, their center from Estonia, junior, came back in the Syracuse game, played 26 minutes, scored 19 points. That's a huge lift that was needed for North Carolina because obviously, right, Caleb Wilson does so much for this team. And I'll tell you this, every time we've taken and picked North Carolina all year long, Caleb Wilson's laid an egg. It's just, I've detailed this throughout the season, so obviously we're not going to be disappointed today, but I'm still not denying the fact that Caleb Wilson's a top 4 player in the draft. We're going to talk about 2 other top 5 players in the NBA draft, obviously, later in the video, but Wilson, I'm projecting him, obviously, to pretty easily go number 4. I'm expecting either DeBonsta or Peterson, then obviously Boozer, and obviously Wilson at 4. I think Kingston Flemings is going to be 5, but I still think North Carolina can win without him. Obviously, they're going to have to do one of 2 things: either match Louisville's tempo or try to slow the game down. And what I mean by that, obviously, if they think that they can straight up keep up with Louisville all game long, and they have to go shot for shot with them, I think they're gonna have to slow down some possessions here. I think they're gonna have to try to get to the free throw line and just slow this game down. Crowd's gonna be on your side. I like the spot. The only home game they have played without Caleb Wilson was Pittsburgh. And obviously the Panthers aren't very good, but they won the game by 14 points. They are 2-1 without Caleb Wilson, with the only loss being that blowout loss at North Carolina State. And again, that's expected interstate matchup over in Raleigh. I get it. Louisville's good, but again, they have struggled on the road this season, and they've got a bunch of guys who just get out and score. Obviously, Ryan Conwell leads them in scoring with 18 this season. Mikel Brown averaging 18 as well. Both of their guards have been phenomenal this season. Isaac McNeely, Javon Hadley too. Again, I'm not denying the fact they have really great guard play on Louisville, and they're going to try to get out and get running the entire game against UNC. But again, the struggles on the road. They go to Southern Methodist. They lose by 10 points, 95-85. They go to Duke. Obviously, they get blown out. They go to Stanford. They lose 80-76. They go to Knoxville. They lose by 21. They go to Arkansas. They lose by 9. It's a team that has struggled to win in big environments all season long. And again, I went over it. What's their biggest road victory? Technically, sure, the Hoosiers, but that's not in Assembly Hall. That's in Indianapolis. So I'm not going to count that. In the ACC, their biggest road victory is... take your pick. You like Wake better, or you like Pittsburgh? And obviously now Louisville, to close out the year, three of their 4 next games are on the road. They go to UNC today. They have Clemson on Saturday. Then they close their season over in South Beach in Miami. So this is their real test, obviously, on the road. I think UNC is going to beat them. I believe so. And again, I know no Caleb Wilson on the court. Going to have to look at their center. Again, we talked about Visar earlier. There was doubt he was going to play their last couple of games. Finally returns in their last game. And again, plays well in the limited minutes he has. We're going to need Seth Trimble to play well. Obviously, Trimble hits the game winner against Duke. We need him to show up. He only scored 13 against Syracuse and 4 against North Carolina State. If North Carolina is going to match this Louisville offensive onslaught at all, they need their guards to play as well as Ryan Conwell, as Mikel Brown, and that does start with Seth Trimble, which, yeah, we'll see. Again, Trimble, senior, he's been around for a while, 4th-year senior of all 4 years at North Carolina. He's going to, I believe, have a heavy workload this year. Obviously, Trimble's senior year has been his best of his collegiate career. I'm sure that's expected. We really need a big night out of him today. I think we're going to get it. I'm going to go North Carolina. And here's the thing. I know how special Caleb Wilson is. I look at the averages, 20 and 10. He's phenomenal. Again, number 4 pick in the draft. I've not been sold on Caleb Wilson all year long, though. And, we've picked North Carolina, and all these games I'm watching, okay, Henry Visar try to get buckets. We're watching Seth Trimble. I'm watching Stevenson. I'm watching Derek Dixon and Jonathan Powell. These guys all these role players average 5 points per game. I'm watching these guys go for 10 because Wilson can't get anything to fall. I'm not saying North Carolina is better without Caleb Wilson. They're not. But there's so many possessions where I watch North Carolina, especially when we've had UNC and we've had the Tar Heels, where Caleb Wilson's going to catch the ball in the post. He's going to back down, short hook, and he misses. And I know, again, usually he finishes those. But in big games this season, we haven't really, not big games. In games that we've had Caleb Wilson, he hasn't come through. I'm willing to take my chance with Visar back in the lineup. Again, he returns in the Syracuse game, and UNC looks good. They hold the lead for most of that game over in Syracuse. And sure, there's a difference playing the Orange and playing Louisville, but it's a good victory over in the JMA Wireless Dome, excuse me. I think they can beat Louisville. I think they slow this team down. I think they play good defense against this team, and I think we're kind of overlooking the Tar Heels, and we're overlooking the fact that home court advantage tonight is going to be absolutely massive for UNC. They don't really lose at Chapel Hill. They've played some great teams in North Carolina this year, or in Chapel Hill this season. Kansas comes in here, UNC wins. Duke comes in here, UNC wins. I'm going to take North Carolina to beat Louisville. Even without Caleb Wilson, give me the Tar Heels. Plus 120 at home. Massive game, but again, we're going to be riding the Blue Bloods today. North Carolina beats Louisville at home. I think, again, they are massively overlooked in the spot. They just need to slow down this Louisville offense, and I believe they can. Give me UNC. Move on now to our next game, and we go from this to the Southland Conference. I told you the lines are going to even themselves out. All right, took a plus 120. Let's now take a minus 140. Texas A&M Corpus Christi goes on the road to take on Southeastern Louisiana. Should be a fairly easy one, I think, for the Islanders. I know they haven't played great basketball as of late, but my goodness, the Lions are really bad. And we've talked about the Southeastern Lions a little bit. We had them in the East Texas A&M game, or at least we talked about them in the East Texas A&M game because we took the ETAM Lions in that matchup. But Southeastern Louisiana is just really horrible. And A&M Corpus Christi is coming off back-to-back L's, but you gotta look who they are. Stephen F. Austin and McNeese in back-to-back games. Those are by far the two best teams in the Southland and the two teams that we are all really expecting to play in the Southland tournament championship or tournament finals. I don't really mind Corpus Christi that much in the spot. This will be a low-scoring game. This will be a traditional Southland, it's gonna be low scoring is how I'll put it. And the next game, we will have another Southland game coming up in a second here. They're going to be low scoring. These are just how Southland games work for the most part. Even the best teams in the conference, look at the Islanders last game when they go to McNeese. The Cowboys only score 70 points, but the thing is, the Islanders score 54, so they lose the game by 16 points. Very rare are you going to see high-scoring games in the Southland. The exceptions will be like Nichols and Incarnate Word at some nights, and New Orleans, those teams that just don't play defense, so they force you to get into shootouts with them. But there is that part of the Southland Conference, and it's a very big part of the Southland, of teams who aren't good offensively, and these games turn into defensive showdowns. I'm talking about Southeastern Louisiana, Houston Christian, East Texas A&M, Northwestern State, Lamar, Corpus Christi, UT Rio Grande Valley. That's about it. Yeah, New Orleans is, fairly high scoring. I don't expect many points in this game, but I expect the Islanders to win on certain possessions, and that's where I am going to give them the edge. I don't really care that the game's in Hammond, Louisiana. Not going to be that big of a home court advantage for them in this game. Obviously, the Islanders are coming off back-to-back L's, but you got to realize who they are. Prior to that, they beat Lamar at home. They did lose at New Orleans, and they beat Nichols prior to that. Again, to beat A&M Corpus Christi, though, for what we have seen for the most part this season, you have to be able to score a lot of points. I don't think the Lions are going to be able to do that because, again, I don't think Southeastern Louisiana is able to beat Texas A&M Corpus Christi at their own game, which, again, that's how a lot of Southland games work, but they are low scoring, possessions are limited, and obviously you have to maximize every single possession that you have every single time you have the basketball. I don't think Southeastern Louisiana is going to be able to do that. Right now, this is the worst team in the Southland Conference, right? We are approaching the Southland tournament coming up in a couple weeks at this point now, and the bottom four teams in the Southland do not make the tourney. So currently, that would be Incarnate Word, East Texas A&M, Houston Christian, and Southeastern Louisiana. Well, East Texas A&M and Houston Christian are going to play today, so one of those teams have to get a victory. But for Southeastern Louisiana, this is kind of their season. This is a must-win game for them with only 3 games left to play. I don't think they come through. I think they kind of realize, honestly, where their season's at because they had 3 opportunities to pick up wins recently in manageable spots. Yes, it's hard to go win on the road in college basketball, but Northwestern State's not a difficult team to beat on the road. East Texas A&M's definitely not a difficult team to beat on the road either. And you get UT Rio Grande Valley at home. It's a game you would have liked to be a little bit more competitive in. Instead, the Lions lose that 196-75. So what I'm trying to get at here is that I think they see the writing on the wall here in Hammond. They know their season's basically over. I'm not telling you they're gonna lay down and get rolled over by the Islanders today, but I think we see a poor shooting night out of the Lions, and I think that's where Corpus Christi can take advantage. A team that has lost back-to-back games, but they have been able to beat up on these lower teams in the conference. They went to Nichols and won. They went to Incarnate Word and won. And I'm not saying that, again, Corpus Christi's some elite team, but technically, hey, they are 5th in the conference somehow. It's kind of shocking. That still would land them in the first round of the tournament because top 8 in the Southland make the tourney. 5 plays 8, 6 plays 7, and obviously then you just go on from there. A victory though today for Texas A&M Corpus Christi could put them as the 4 in the Southland instead of the Privateers in New Orleans. That's massive, obviously, right? Because that sends them immediately into the second round. So it's a big game for both teams, but I am going to go with Corpus Christi. I believe they play better defense, and I think in certain spots they are going to be able to find ways to obviously convert. And I think a big part of this will be the shooting ability of the Islanders. Not like, again, they're going to be a team that's going to shoot 50 3-pointers or 25 3-pointers per game. That's not usually what they're going to do. But in big spots, I trust they're shooting a lot more than Southeastern Louisiana. Again, they're not going to be the highest volume team from beyond the arc in every game. They will do it sometimes. Like their last game against McNeese, I think they shot about 20. But their ability to make 3-pointers is so much, they have such a better chance at hitting 3-pointers in Southeastern Louisiana. You look at Nick Chabonio. I'm always butchering his name, but their starting point guard averages 12 points per game, just put up 20 against McNeese, had 14 against Stephen F. Austin. He's a 41% three-point shooter this season. You look at Mason Gibson. He's a 37% three-point shooter this season. He's averaging 10. They've got guys who can shoot the rock. Southeastern Louisiana has piss-poor shooters all over the court. They don't really have any threat of the three-point ball, and that's what I've gotten watching the Southeastern Louisiana team. A lot of what they do is dribble, drive, try to get in the paint, and throw up a short layup. And, if you have a team that has decent interior defense, which Texas A&M Corpus Christi has enough, you're going to be looking at Sheldon Winson and Frank Yenta are going to be those two, Yenta, are going to be those two bigs down low for this team. Obviously, they'll go in and out, but it's going to be difficult, in my opinion, I believe, for Southeastern Louisiana to score because they just don't shoot the basketball. They don't have any high percentage shooters on this team except for Mekhi Miles, who's a 37% three-point shooter. But beyond him, no one else really shoots the three-point ball. And Miles is coming off a 4-point performance and a 6-point performance before that. So again, everything the Lions do is dribble, drive, and try to get to the hoop. And watching their last couple games, they've just been absolutely awful at doing so. Isaiah Gaines is their leading scorer. He averages 11 points per game, but he's a 10% three-point shooter. And yeah, he put up 24 against UT Rio Grande Valley, but all of that for the most part is drive, get to the hoop. He did hit 1 3-pointer, but again, a lot of his game is dribble, drive, try to get to the line and try to obviously make close shots. Jeremy Easley is a 18% three-point shooter. He's their second leading scorer, averaging 10 a game. So again, it's a lot of points in the paint, and if you can just swarm down low, you should be okay against the Southeastern Louisiana team. And if I'm Texas A&M Corpus Christi, I'm looking at how this team has played throughout the season, and obviously just recently too. And I'm saying, okay, we're going to give you that 3-point shot all game long, except for the one exception being Mekhi Miles. Anyone else on this team, they don't have another guy who shoots higher than 26% from beyond the arc other than Mekhi Miles. I'm telling you, it's an awful 3-point shooting team. And I know, again, Corpus Christi isn't going to take 30 per game, but they are going to find ways, obviously, I don't want to call them bailout threes, but there are going to be late shot clocks where, you need a shot. All right, Corpus Christi's going to, kick corner. Boom, you got a guy wide open. He can drain that 3-pointer. I don't think I can say the same about the Lions. So I'm going to go with the Islanders on the road. I'm going to take minus 140 for Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I hope this line doesn't move much. I'm recording this video around 12:30, so hopefully it doesn't move that much. But yeah, we're going to go with the Islanders on the road in Hammond against the last place Lions. On now to our third best bet of the video. We stay in the Southland Conference. Same odds as we look at the Houston Christian Huskies going on the road to Commerce, Texas to take on the East Texas A&M Lions. Again, another one of these games I'm hoping the line doesn't move because ESPN's matchup probability and predictor has the Lions at 68% to win this game, and yet it's only minus 140 on the odds, so I hope it doesn't move. But I'm going to go with the Lions at home. I'm going to go with East Texas A&M, a team that I believe is kind of finding their ways. We've picked this team quite a bit recently, and we've actually been fairly successful with them. We only usually take East Texas A&M at home in somewhat even money spots, but they've paid off recently, right? 2 home victories against Northwestern State and Southeastern Louisiana. Now, obviously, those aren't, back-to-back. They have their losses in there as well, as they are coming off a loss to the Incarnate Word Cardinals, but it hasn't been that bad for East Texas A&M as they are trying to play their way now into the Southland Tourney. A victory here, and we talked about this a minute ago, the winner of this game is going to find themselves close to the Southland Tournament. So the way it is right now in the Southland, basically, you got those top 6 teams: Stephen F. Austin, McNeese, UT Rio Grande Valley, New Orleans, and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. And Nichols. Those are the 6 top teams. Besides those top 6, you have everyone else trying to fight for 2 spots in the Southland Tourney. Of course, that is Northwestern State, Lamar, Incarnate Word, East Texas A&M, Houston Christian, Southeastern Louisiana. Lamar and Northwestern State have 7 wins, and everyone else has either 6 or 5 wins. So every game down the stretch is absolutely massive because you want to obviously get a chance to extend your season over in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and potentially make the NCAA tournament. Obviously, both Stephen F. Austin, the Lumberjacks, and the Cowboys of McNeese are going to be massive favorites against any of those teams in the actual tournament. But again, it's March, and you never know what's going to happen. So a massive game because the winner of this one puts themselves in a really good spot to actually make the tournament, because from here on out, the way the rest of the conference is playing, you might only need to win one more game to make your way into the Southland tourney. But the loser here, I don't want to say is fully eliminated, but it's going to feel like you are. So a massive game. I'm going to go with the home team. And a must-win game for both teams, and I'm going to go with East Texas A&M. They've been very good to us recently, and they play these crappy defensive games, and I will warn you, like I do every single time I talk about an East Texas A&M Commerce Lions game, this may be the worst basketball game you ever watch. You're going to see miss layup after miss layup after miss layup, but East Texas A&M usually wins those sloppy games, the recent ones against Northwestern State, as well as that game we just talked about a couple minutes ago with their home victory against Southeastern Louisiana. Every East Texas A&M game that I watch that they win, they play fairly great defense. Again, we're going to let you drive. We're going to let you, obviously, and a lot of Southland teams don't know how to shoot, which Houston Christian, it's dependent on the game, not a great shooting team, but East Texas A&M, again, is prepared for this. They play great interior defense. They are very accustomed to these low-scoring, struggles at the rim, and I think they're going to play fairly well tonight. And they are at home. We saw Houston Christian last week as they were at home against Nichols. It was a game in which Nichols was trailing the entire way. They come back and tie the game late and actually take a 3-point lead with 4 minutes to go, only for them to not score for the next 2.5 minutes and Houston Christian to barely win the contest. It was unbelievable. I was pissed. But by watching Houston Christian, I was not impressed, okay? Nichols was not allowed to play defense in that game. The free throw margin didn't end up being that horrible, but Houston Christian got every tic-tac call in that game. And the Huskies, by the way, are going to really only play 5 guys. Oh, they'll play 6. They'll sub in, I think it's DeMarco Bethea off their bench. But primarily the Huskies are going to play a 5 to 6 man rotation. They're going to play Trent Johnson the entire game. They're going to play Mamu Mara the entire game as well, who's their center. They're not a great free throw shooting team, I'll tell you that, but they are going to get to the line quite a bit. And, they're not a great 3-point shooting team at all. They're going to look to attack the basket. That's not the type of team I would like to go play East Texas A&M. And I'm not trying to, refer to the East Texas A&M Commerce Lions like there's some juggernaut. Obviously, they're, 11-18 and 9th in the Southland Conference. But feels like the type of game. It's in Commerce, and it should be a layup contest. It feels like the type of game that East Texas A&M is equipped to win. They usually win these interior battles. And what separates East Texas A&M against these other purely interior dependent teams and paint point dependent teams like a Northwestern State, like a Southeastern Louisiana, is their ability to kick at the last second and look for the 3-point shot. That's what they're better than most Southland teams, at least bottom of the barrel Southland teams. They have guys who can chuck up threes. Noah Pagano is one of those guys, 38% 3-point shooter. They'll look to Vinny Sagona, who's a 40% 3-point shooter. They've got guys, and those aren't their leading scorers, but they're options on the perimeter. Ronnie Harrison's their leading scorer. He averages 15 points per game. Harrison leads them in both points and rebounds, averaging 15 and 6 this season. He's a pretty easy double-digit bucket every single night. He's put up double digits in 4 consecutive games. He's been really good. Junior out of Texas, played last season at Tarleton State. Now going to East Texas A&M and becoming the guy after just being another starter on Tarleton last season. He's been phenomenal this year, and he should be the best player on the court. As for Houston Christian, Kylan Green's probably going to lead them in scoring, but you never know. I mean, Kylan Green averages 11, but you got Damari Williams who averages 10, DeMarco Bethea averages 10. They got a bunch of guys who can score. I wouldn't, again, completely just point out one guy and say, okay, he's your best player. Elijah Brooks was leading them in scoring before he got injured back in December. He was putting up 12 points per game, but the senior out of Topeka, Kansas, has been ruled out for the season, if I'm not mistaken. So I like East Texas A&M in this game. They're at home. Should be a very, I'm not going to say it's not going to be entertaining. It's just going to be interesting, to say the least. You're going to see a lot of missed layups. You're going to see both teams get into the free throw line quite a bit, but I'm telling you, what is going to pull East Texas A&M away, in my opinion, is going to be the 3-point shot. It's something that I don't really think is going to be available to Houston Christian. I think they shot like 4 for 25 in their last game, or in the game that we saw against Nichols from beyond the arc. And recently, by the way, too, which makes matters worse, they just went to Northwestern State and they lost by 18 points. That's really bad. Again, Northwestern State lost a home and home in back-to-back games to these East Texas A&M Lions. And Houston Christian, I know you can't play common opponents. That's not how everything always works. But, man, they're coming off a very disappointing loss against the Demons, a huge game again in the Southland that gave Northwestern State their 7th win in the conference and holds Houston Christian at 6. Again, as we talk about the bottom 4 teams in the conference getting eliminated before the Southland tourney, legitimately, every game matters, and Houston Christian dropped a game that should have been somewhat winnable for them. They were, 2.5-point dogs in the road, but a manageable spot that obviously they just couldn't come out in. And they only scored 53 points, and again, they shot piss poor from beyond the arc. They shot 20-something%. This is a game that I believe the Lions win. Again, I'm hoping the line stays at -140. We're going to go East Texas A&M at home to take care of the Houston Christian Huskies, and essentially a win, or not go home, but a win or be eliminated type game in the Southland Conference. On now to our 4th best bet of the video. We will get to Kansas and Houston in a minute, but first, let's take a stop in the SWAC, as we've got the Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils going on the road to Grambling, Louisiana to take on the Grambling Tigers. Give me the Delta Devils on the road to cover 17.5 points. Hey, they've got momentum. They're looked to be the worst team in college basketball. I gotta believe they're still last at every single metric. Who's even second to last right now? Coppin State, yeah. Mississippi Valley State still bottom of the barrel on all the lists and all the rankings. I understand. They finally got a victory, though, and what a victory it was at home for the Delta Devils. Down by 1 point with 6 seconds left to go. They are playing at home against Texas Southern. Texas Southern inbounds the basketball. They think they're going to dribble out, but no. Mike Jones swipes. It was Texas Southern's point guard. I'll be honest, I don't know his name off the top of my head. Mike James rips and swipes Texas Southern's point guard. He comes up with the basketball right on the baseline, underneath the basket, lays it in, game over. Mississippi Valley State gets their first Division I win of the year. Their only other victory was against the Mississippi University for Women back on November 5th. No, they did not play a bunch of girls. They played a men's team at the University for Women. Complicated. Anyways, there is momentum now for the Delta Devils. They played a competitive game prior to Texas Southern against Prairie View A&M, and what their definition of competitive is only losing by 10 points. But honestly, the Delta Devils they've been getting beaten up this season. They are 2-26, but a lot of their games actually have been fairly close. And when you give them 17 points, you know what? I don't hate it. We're getting 17.5 on the road for Mississippi Valley State, a team that lost by 10 to Prairie View, a team that lost by 7 at Alabama A&M, by 8 points to Alcorn, by 16 to Jackson State, 8 to Pine Bluff, 14 to Florida A&M, 16 to Bethune-Cookman, won the first time on the road at Prairie View. I'll take 17.5 at Grambling, a team that's also bottom of the barrel in the SWAC. It's not like we're taking the Delta Devils to go to, Bethune-Cookman. We're taking them to go, Alabama State's the only other team that I have any bit of confidence in the SWAC. The SWAC conference, obviously, it's something. I think Bethune-Cookman's going to win the entire thing. I don't know how Southern's projected currently are still right now the 2 seed in the SWAC tournament. That team is awful. The only 2 teams I have any bit of confidence in this conference, though, is Bethune-Cookman and the Hornets of Alabama State. Anyways, though, I believe, and I saw this at the beginning of the year, the SWAC tournament's going to include everybody this season. So hypothetically, Mississippi Valley State could go into the SWAC tourney 2-30, and they could still go to the NCAA tournament. All they would have to do is win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. They could go into the tourney as 7-30. Just saying. They're obviously not going to do that, but every team's going to get into the SWAC tournament. As of now, the Delta Devils will be projected to play Prairie View A&M in the first round. That's actually a manageable game. They lost to them by 2 points and 10 points so far this year. But why am I taking the Delta Devils in the spot to cover the points? It hasn't gone well for us earlier in the year when we took Mississippi Valley State because we hunted them for a road game. I get it. I think it's manageable here because Grambling isn't that good. And there's momentum now for the Delta Devils. Hopefully they, didn't, party all night after they beat Texas Southern because they we're probably very shocked they actually won a game, but that game was competitive against Texas Southern, man. I mean, the Tigers really don't get by them by more than, 6 points. It's just one of those games where the Delta Devils are just hanging around the entire time, and at the very end, right, they're down by 1, they get that steal, they get the put, and they win. They're plus 440 dogs at home. They are 11.5-point underdogs as well, and they find a way to win. So great on the Delta Devils. I like them to cover here at Grambling. Guys, Grambling's been awful. The Tigers have lost now 4 consecutive games, losing by 14 at Southern, 5 at Prairie View A&M, 3 at Texas Southern, and 8 at home to Alabama A&M. Their last victory is at home against Alabama State, but they only score 57 points and win 57-47. And that's my thing. The Tigers aren't that high scoring of a team. They are one of these lower scoring SWAC teams that, play all right defense, but again, one of these limited possession teams that slow the game down. I'm going to take that when we have 17.5 and such a large spread on a team that sure is a huge underdog, but if this is a slow-paced game, I'm okay with this. I really am. I'm completely okay with this. Grambling, again, second lowest team or second to worst team in the SWAC conference. They are 5-8, which is very different, obviously, than Mississippi Valley State, right? The Devils are 1-13, Grambling's 5-8. The Devils are 2-26, Grambling is 11-15, and Grambling has some decent wins this year, right? They beat Norfolk State, they beat the CAA's Hampton, they beat Southern Miss, they went to Howard earlier in the year over in DC, obviously the MEACs, Howard Bison, and they won as well. They have some decent victories, don't get me wrong, but recently they've been pretty bad. And I don't know, I think only one game all year long they've covered 17.5. Yeah, one game all year long they've covered 17.5 against a Division I opponent, that is, and that would be at Alcorn State. I'm going to go with the Delta Devils here. I'm going to go with the Delta Devils, who actually may be the higher scoring team. Yeah, they don't play great defense, but if you get a slower paced team like Grambling versus a team that, gives up a lot of points in Mississippi Valley State, but a team that can kind of score in games, and a lot of that has to do with Michael James. I'll get into him in a second. I'm okay with this. I am. Michael James has led the Delta Devils in scoring in their last 10 games at least. He averages 22 points per game, actually the 12th leading scorer in all of college basketball right now, primarily because he's going to take 25 shots per game, and he's, a 40% field goal shooter, field goal percentage guy in general, 3-point wise. I'd say probably 30%. Okay, not horrible. He's going to score 20 every single game because he's going to take half the shots for this team. And you think I'm joking? No, I'm serious about that. He's going to take pretty much all their shots. He's going to get to the free throw line at least 10 times a game, at least 8 times per game. That's probably a better number. He's everything for this team. Michael James Jr., I believe a JUCO product. He's played every single game he started and played every single game for the Devils this year. He averages 38 minutes per game. He barely comes off the court, but he's been huge. And that's what I'm saying. The Devils are fairly high scoring for as bad as they are. Daniel Mayfield also averages 14 points per game. He's put up double digits in his last 6, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's a D2 product, but I think their high scoring nature, if you can call it that, should keep them in this game. Grambling, I'm not impressed with their scoring. Antonio Munoz leads them in points this season. Munoz averaging 13, freshman out of Chicago. Again, he can hoop. You have Jacob Mutlib, who's averaging 11. Roger Coffey averages 11 as well. But recently, we have not seen it out of the Tigers. We have seen a lot of low-scoring affairs, and they are coming off 4 consecutive L's. Yes, it is a whole different game when you play the Delta Devils. This is the game that a lot of teams on the SWAC are in the SWAC conference circle on their calendars because they know that, okay, even, the 13th guy on the bench can go get minutes in this game. The walk-ons are going to get minutes in this game because of how bad the Delta Devils are. I wouldn't say that's the case for this game specifically, though, just because of the win the Delta Devils have gotten and just how they match up against this other low-ranked team in the SWAC. And sure, there are differences in levels to these teams being lowly ranked, but I do kind of like the Devils enough in this spot. I will say this is probably 5th on the games I like today. If I had to rank them, this is definitely last, but I'm going to go with the Delta Devils on the road coming off of that momentum-boosting win, winning at home in their huge come-from-behind miracle win against Texas Southern. Give me the Delta Devils on the road in Grambling to cover the 17.5 points against the Tigers. We close the video. Game of the day by far, you saw it in the thumbnail, in Allen Fieldhouse, Lawrence, Kansas. Told you again, the odds are going to all even themselves out today. Plus 125 for the Kansas Jayhawks at home. I'm not going to take the points. I want the money line straight up. I know this might be a hot take because of what Kansas just did against Cincinnati. Hear me out here. I don't care. I don't care about the Cincinnati game. I think with everything that's being said about Kansas, Dick Vitale, again, phenomenal voice for college basketball, but Dick Vitale is, out in the media and saying there needs to be a divorce between Kansas and Darren Peterson. You're seeing all these media outlets pushing for the fact that, maybe Darren Peterson shouldn't even be on this team anymore. And, Kansas is under duress at this point, and it's all coming crashing down for this team because they lost to the Bearcats at home. And while that's a horrible loss to take against a Cincinnati team where I'll give the Bearcats credit, they're making a run. I don't think they're going to get in the tournament. They've just lost too many games this year and too many bad games they lost early in the season. But they are one of the hottest teams in college basketball right now. 4 consecutive victories. They might be able to make a push in the Big 12 tourney. Are they going to win it? Probably not. But believe it or not, the Bearcats are playing great basketball right now. Anyways, I don't mind the loss for Kansas. Why? Okay, you're at home. It's a simple case of you were overlooking the Bearcats. And okay, yeah, it's Cincinnati. It's never, they're not a powerhouse. It's the Cincinnati Bearcats. Who cares, right? It's a game you have to win, but they don't do it. But I'm not too concerned. This is a game that I know they're going to be focused for. It's a game that I know they've been, this game's been circled. This is the reason that they overlooked and lost to Cincinnati, in my opinion, is because they knew they had Houston on the schedule. Because Kansas this season has welcomed in the top teams in the Big 12 into Allen Fieldhouse, and they have knocked them out. Arizona, Brigham Young, they have beaten Iowa State. All these top teams come in to Allen Fieldhouse and they lose. Houston's the next one on the list. Before a massive game, by the way, over the weekend, where they're going to go to Tucson to take on the Arizona Wildcats. But I like Kansas here, and you can keep your points. I think, again, with everything that's being talked about in the media right now, we are underestimating Kansas and we are underestimating Darren Peterson. They should not be plus money in this game, but I'm not going to complain. They shouldn't be. Houston's a really good team. Houston's lost back-to-back games. And yes, that's Iowa State and Kansas, but you lose on the road in Ames, and you get Arizona at home, an injured Arizona team without Koa Pete, and the Wildcats, Houston made their runs, but Arizona wins that game. And it felt like Arizona was controlling that game despite, again, a couple big runs by Houston. It always felt like Arizona was kind of in control that entire game. I'm watching, I'm like, okay, when is Houston going to finally take over? They never do. And now to cap off this crazy 3-game stretch, you go from Ames to Arizona at home, and now you walk into one of the toughest places to play in all of college basketball. I don't care Kansas just lost. Don't tell that crowd that. This is still, the biggest game they're going to play. And sure, I say this all the time about Kansas. Every game's the biggest game played this season at Allen Fieldhouse. Well, yeah, it's the truth, right? Early in the year, it was Iowa State. Then it was Brigham Young. Then it was Arizona. Now it's Houston. And sure, again, they just lost Cincinnati at home. Darren Peterson had an awful game. It's the truth. I don't expect Peterson to play that poorly again. I don't. Right? 17 points, 7 for 17 from the field, 1 for 7 from beyond the arc. It's not a good game for Darren Peterson. Again, yes, still 17 points, great. You need more out of him. Let's still say Flory Badunga has been the MVP of this team. If it's not Darren Peterson, it's Flory Badunga. Flory Badunga has been phenomenal for this team underneath the basket. 18 points, 12 boards against Cincinnati. His team loses because of a piss-poor second half out of the Jayhawks, but Badunga is still playing great basketball for this team. He's been a pretty great free throw shooter too, surprisingly. Melvin Council had a horrible efficiency game against Cincinnati, 3 for 13 from the field. You need that to be better tonight. But if there's a question and if there's doubt that this team's going to be locked in to play Houston, you can erase that. 100% they'll be locked in to play this game, and the best version, in my opinion, of the Kansas Jayhawks are going to show up because they just lost to Cincinnati. They will show up for this game. Houston, too, coming off back-to-back L's, but they don't get the benefit of, okay, we've lost 2 in a row, but now we get to return back to Houston. No, you got to go to this environment. And yes, Houston's won in tough environments before the season. They've also lost. I mean, yeah, they went to the Marriott Center and beat Brigham Young. Again, we can't totally count out BYU, even though Richie Saunders is out. Obviously, they're coming off a victory over the Cyclones, right? This weekend was horrible for ranked teams in college basketball. But Houston did lose in Lubbock, did lose in Ames. They went to Provo and won. But this is the next really difficult spot on the road you got to go play at. Give me the Jayhawks. I know Iowa State, Houston, great defensive teams. I've seen Kansas beat Iowa State before this year, and how does that apply? Well, Iowa State and Houston kind of play the same way. Obviously, different personnel and whatnot. And Houston has, again, most likely the number 5 pick in the NBA draft in Kingston Flemings, who every single game, and ESPN raves about Kingston Flemings, and every broadcast on ESPN, they will be saying, they will be giving Kingston Flemings the highest praise. And you know what? I agree. Kingston Flemings is phenomenal. This dude is going to be special in the league. The confidence in which he shoots the basketball. I mean, this guy can be 0 for 4 from beyond the arc, and he's still hoisting up those threes like nothing happened. I'm very impressed with what Kingston Flemings does. This guy has franchise point guard written all over him in the NBA. But I still think Kansas gets this team. I think so. I think they win. Go back to the Arizona game. Arizona was undefeated at the time. They come into Lawrence Fieldhouse, they lose. If you are concerned about the Cincinnati loss, I wouldn't be. I don't think it really matters. It's a game that it already happened. It was 2 days ago. Kansas has gotten to sit for 48 hours and think, okay, what can we do to, basically rewrite or, basically write over the Cincinnati game? Because that's essentially what happens here. Kansas beats Houston. People forget about what happened against Cincinnati. You beat Arizona. Yeah, that Cincinnati game is gone. right? They have a chance to win back-to-back games here against Houston and Arizona before ending the year in Tempe and against Kansas State. But that's a huge, huge 4-game schedule to finish out conference play. The Jayhawks are currently projected to be a 3. Win a couple games here down the stretch, you win these next 2, you're looking at still a pathway to a number 1 seed. Yeah, that's the truth, right? You beat Houston, you beat Arizona, you're probably going to find yourselves ranked 4th at the end of the week, and boom, you're back in a number 1 seed by the end of the week. So it's a massive next 2 games for Kansas, but I'm not going to underestimate the best player in college basketball. I know DeBonce has been putting together some really great games. I do not care. The best player in the sport is still Darren Peterson. He is a player, and again, we saw it in the game against Oklahoma State in Stillwater, where he basically hits a 3 early in the second half and checks himself out of the game. He only plays 18 minutes, and he checks himself out. Let's not forget, too, this team did beat Arizona without Peterson. But when he plays, again, he is still the best player on the planet. And there's a lot of discourse, and there's a huge narrative that Kansas may be better without him. And again, that maybe there needs to be a divorce process between the Jayhawks and Peterson. And obviously, there was that viral picture that, went viral somewhat on Twitter of Peterson, the teams huddled up, the four guys in the court huddled up. I think it was Badunga, Tiller, Council, and I'm blanking. And Trey White, obviously. And Darren Peterson's at half court. I mean, I think that's just kind of what happened. It was a fast break, and Peterson was just left behind. I don't think there's that much turmoil. I don't think there's that much turmoil in Lawrence. I really don't think so. Bill Self's, trying to tell the media that no, Peterson actually enjoys the game of basketball. He's just kind of injury prone. I don't think there's as much turmoil with Kansas than you think. I think they're really, getting geared up to win this tournament. I'm obviously talking about the NCAA tournament. We shall see how that goes. But this is one of these big games that you may see in the Final Four. So I'm going to go Kansas. It's the type of game that I think they win. I don't care. They're plus 125. You can keep your points. Houston is a phenomenal team, right? Kingston Fleming's one of the top players in college basketball. But Darren Peterson, who doesn't seem to really enjoy the game of basketball, in all fairness, is still on Kansas. Emmanuel Sharp, Miles Uzan, Chris Senack, great players. There's really good players on Kansas too. And I'm telling you, that home crowd is going to make a difference. And the biggest difference maker may not be Peterson, may not be Kingston Flemings. It's Floyd Badunga. His work on the offensive glass, his work on the defensive glass, finding finishes down low, making his free throws. He's been a much better free throw shooter in Big 12 play than the entire rest of the year. That may be your difference maker. I'm going to go Kansas. Another difference maker may be Melvin Council's ability to shoot the 3-point ball. Him, Trey White, and Bryson Tiller, and Elmarco Jackson off the bench. But I'm going to go with the Jayhawks at home to pick up the victory. Kansas money line plus 125 against the Houston Cougars. Folks, thank y'all for watching our college basketball best bets here on February 23rd. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more, and make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow from our daily college basketball best bets, and later today we'll have our NBA best bets out as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.